Jonas Vingegaard almost had to quit the Vuelta. I'm not even joking. Listen to this. The robbery heard round Spain. When you think of high-stakes drama at a Grand Tour, you probably imagine crashes on the final descent of an alpine stage, or some oxygen-starved duel between Vingegaard and Pogačar at 2,000 meters of altitude. You don't usually think of a bunch of guys with bolt cutters rolling away from a parked garage like low-budget Ocean's 11. Stuffed vans filled with some of the most expensive two-wheeled toys on earth. But welcome to the Vuelta a España. Stage 2 aftermath, the day Visma lease a bike woke up not to espresso and team briefings, but to the sight of empty bike racks and a collective meltdown. According to reports, no fewer than 18 bikes were stolen from the team hotel in Caceres, including Jonas Vingegaard's entire race fleet, a total value of over €200,000. That's right, Visma lost bikes worth more than the average starter home, and not the, quote, needs renovation in a bad part of town type. These were custom Cervelo RSs and S5s, precision fitted to the team's golden goose Jonas, complete with his sacred geometry, the millimeter perfect seat post height, and the mythical 125.5 cranks. The carbon wheels that cost more than your car, I forgot those as well, but it's gone, all gone. Imagine being Jonas, the reigning Tour de France champion, rolling out of bed and finding that not only do you not have a race bike, you don't even have a warm-up trainer left to spin your pale Danish legs on. That's not just a nightmare, that's cosmic trolling. The value alone made headlines. It went crazy. Except unlike cars, you can't exactly borrow your cousin's Ford Fiesta and enter stage 3 with it. The optics were brutal. Cameras caught the team scrambling, mechanics swearing in Dutch, riders pacing around like parents at Disneyland who just lost their kid. It wasn't just equipment theft, it was dignity theft. And right in the middle of it was Jonas Vingegaard, supposedly here to recover from months of injury and a crash, hoping to quietly sharpen his form before Tour de France Redemption season starts next year. Instead, he got to star in a Spanish crime drama. The Charity of Rivals. Enter the fairy godmothers of professional cycling, Little Trek and Movie Star. Yes, the sworn rivals who normally wouldn't loan Jonas so much as a water bottle suddenly became his saviours. Report confirmed that both teams stepped up and offered spare bikes to Visma so they could even start stage 3. Picture it. The corporate suits at Little Trek, who literally named their team after a budget supermarket, handing over pristine maindons to Visma, while Movie Star, eternal Spanish underachievers, opened their garage like some benevolent cycling Santa Claus. Jonas, meanwhile, is presented with the most awkward gift of all time. A rival's bike. And not just a rival, these are the teams he spends his career trying to crush. Riding their machines is like Superman having to borrow Batman's cape for a day. For Visma, it was humiliating. For Little Trek and Movie Star, it was a PR goldmine. Rival teams helping the great Jonas Vingegaard not get eliminated by petty criminals. Cue the slow claps, cue the sponsor logos glowing in angelic light. But here's the kicker, this wasn't a one-bake, one-stage problem. With the theft so massive, Visma had to juggle their riders between borrowed gear, making the first few days of the Vuelta look less like a polished World Tour powerhouse, and more like a neighbourhood amateur club cobbling together mismatched kit. Over €200,000 worth of equipment gone, and the mighty yellow and black armada reduced to depending on supermarket rivals for charity wheels. If humiliation could be measured in watts, Jonas would already be cooked. Jonas on the wrong bike. Now, you might think a rider as clinical as Jonas would just shrug and adapt. Quote, a bike's a bike, right? Wrong. To a rider who obsesses over saddle height like medieval monks debating theology, being stuck on a borrowed movie star frame is basically, not great. And Jonas has not been in the mood. Not at all. Multiple clips of him warming up and cooling down have gone viral, showing the Dane with the kind of face usually reserved for tax audits. He reportedly muttered something about feeling like a tourist while riding an ill-fitted trek for part of stage 3. One fan on Twitter said that Jonas looked like, quote, a guy who just got handed a rental scooter instead of his Porsche. He's not wrong. For 2 stages, Jonas had to ride non-Visma bikes, repainted, adjusted, jury-rigged, but still not his. Imagine trying to hit 6.8 watts per kilo uphill when your saddle is 2mm off. That's not performance, that's medieval pain. And Jonas has been salty ever since. Teammates whisper he's been snapping at staff. At least one mechanic has aged a decade this week, constantly remeasuring Jonas's saddle height like he's defusing a weapon. The cruel irony, Jonas isn't even riding badly. Despite the disaster, he's still near the sharp end of GC. But performance doesn't erase the indignity of pedaling a competitor's bicycle. For a perfectionist like him, that stings worse than any time loss. The media circus. Of course, the cherry on top of this bike theft Sunday has been the media circus. Journalists love nothing more than a cranky champion, and Jonas has given them plenty of material. The piece de resistance came when a cameraman got a little too close during Jonas's post-stage trainer ride. Jonas, drenched in sweat, barely tolerating life, suddenly reached out and shoved the lens away. The clip predictably went viral. Half the internet laughed and the other half screamed, PR disaster. Now, let's be fair. If you'd just lost €200,000 worth of bikes, had to ride a rival's frames, and then get ambushed on the trainer, you'd absolutely slap a camera too. But Jonas doesn't exactly exude the happy-go-lucky charisma of Pogačar. Every annoyed grimace just feeds the image of a champion unravelling under absurd circumstances. The Spanish press, never subtle, has framed him as both tragic and comic. Marca ran a headline about, quote, El danés más caro del mundo montando una bici prestada. Wow, my pronunciation hopefully is better than it sounded. This translates to, quote, the most expensive Dane in the world riding a borrowed bike. Social media memed him mercilessly, side-by-side edits of Jonas on a movie star bike next to a kid on training wheels. Everywhere he turns, the cameras are waiting, not to record Watts, but to catch the next meltdown. Where this leaves him. And so here we are, Jonas Vingegaard, an absolute champion, an absolute cycling powerhouse, survivor of a horrific crash, back at the Vuelta not to conquer but to play out the strangest subplot of his career. Team UAE have already flexed, winning the Stage 4 team time trial and showing yet again that Tadej Pogačar's empire runs on smug dominance, even when he's not there. Jonas, by contrast, is riding bikes with other people's logos, dodging reporters, and trying not to lose his temper at saddle height jokes. Visma will, of course, eventually restock their fleet. Sponsors will ensure Jonas is back on custom Cervelos soon, but the psychological wound remains. The theft robbed him not just of equipment, but of control, and for a rider who measures every calorie, every gram, every training interval, that's the deepest cut of all. So yes, Jonas hasn't been doing badly on paper, but if body language tells a story, this Vuelta is already cursed for him. Every podium smile looks forced, every interview has been a ton of man one, more dumb questions away from walking out. And the truth is, he almost had to quit. If Lidl Trek and Movie Star hadn't have played Good Samaritans, Jonas would have been out before stage 3, out at the Vuelta, humiliated, and remembered not for watts or victories, but as the guy whose race ended because some thieves with bolt cutters wanted a quick payday. Instead, he's still here, pedaling angrily, swatting cameras and grinding his teeth, a champion reduced to survivor status by one of the strangest chapters in recent cycling Grand Tour history. Thank you for listening to today's video. Don't forget to comment down below your opinions in the comment section, leave a like on the video for good luck, and make sure you definitely subscribe to this channel if it's your first time here. By clicking the red subscribe button, you'll be kept up to date with all of the latest cycling news, cycling drama, and of course, the latest cycling results. Be sure to tune in for my next video later this evening. I'll catch you guys then.